Well, hello again, and we're still on this dog walk. At the end of Neurodivergency number 3, I said I was going to talk about women, but I'm not. Sorry, that's going to be the next one. There are a few things that I wanted to say that I forgot to mention, so I'm going to say them now. So, why is neurodivergency important, and why is it still here? So if neurodivergency is part of how humans are wired, some are wired one way, some are wired another way, it's rather like being left-handed or right-handed. You don't choose it, it just is what it is. Victorian times, you had to put your left hand behind your back and just learn to write with your right hand. And that did a lot of damage to some people because psychologically it was very difficult. And now we realise that it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, and left-handed people can sometimes think differently to right-handed people, and that's a brain wiring thing. And now we accept both, and I think we're moving in that direction with neurodiversity. That I think neurodiversity is becoming more accepted as another norm. It's not that there's anything wrong with you, it's just your brain is wired in that way as opposed to the neurotypical way. So, why, if it was something that was detrimental to us as human beings, then we would have evolved and it would have died out. So the fact that it's here, and that it's always been here, and that it's still here, suggests that there's a good reason for it. And the best explanation I've come up with, and I've seen, is the idea that people who are neurodivergent tend, and it's a tendency, these are generalisations, but tend to be more risk-taking because of the impulsivity, more thinking outside the box because they don't see things in the same way that the majority of people do. Remember, it's about 5% of the population for ADHD, so it's a smaller percentage of the population. But they'll try new things, so they tend to be entrepreneurs or inventors or creatives, painters. So Da Vinci, Van Gogh. You only need to think of Elon Musk and Bill Gates and some of the entrepreneurs, Richard Branson, who are all neurodiverse. And so the neurodivergent population tend to think differently and think, well, what happens if? Why don't we try this? So if we think back to coming out of the trees, why don't we try coming out of the trees and seeing what happens if we walk on two legs? What happens if we chase that woolly mammoth off a cliff? Oh look, it's died, and now we've got lots of meat for the whole tribe, and we've got fur, and we've got bones that we can build a hut from, and so on. If they didn't try it, they'd never have known that. So the inventors, the people who push human knowledge outwards, have a tendency to be neurodiverse. And you can see that again with scientists, Einstein and so on, Isaac Newton, that they all show a lot of tendencies, if you look back at historical records of them, of highly likely being autistic or ADHD or both. And we'll come on to the whole topic of ADHD in another point, I'm sure. But if everybody was neurodiverse, and it was down to us neurodiverse guys to build a stable society, it would never get done. We'd have all the ideas, but we'd never actually get it done. It would never work. So we need people who are neurotypical, who are good at processes, who are good at taking those ideas and making them work. Taking those flights of fancy and going, but we could apply it here, and this is how we could do it. And sometimes you need the ADHD brain that has the bright idea, coupled with an autistic brain that goes, yes, but we need to do it in this specific order, and we need to do it the same way every time for it to work. So you need the combination of different types of neurodiversity and a large proportion of neurotypical people who will make society work. And so I think of it as two layers, two concentric circles, with neurotypicals in the middle, making society, building society, making humanity be able to survive and evolve and develop. And the neurodiverse around the edge, pushing the boundaries out, making the circle bigger. The difficulty with that is that as neurodiverse people, we can sometimes then struggle to fit into the constraints of society that the neurotypical people have built, because we don't fit into those norms quite so easily sometimes. Sometimes we can fit in quite well, and that's where I'm going to come on to with women particularly. Again, sweeping generalisations. There will be men who have the more typically female ADHD and vice versa. So don't call me out on being sexist on it. It's just a generalisation, and I'm going to talk about that difference and why that difference in my next episode. I promise this time. But there you go. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact that I think it's a bit like being left-handed and right-handed, and how important it is that we have both neurotypical and neurodiverse brains, and that's what makes humanity thrive and survive and evolve and move forward. And we need both kinds of people, and we need to celebrate both types of people and not make people who are neurodiverse feel like they're second-class citizens, because actually they're often the people that expand our universe, expand our understanding. But we can only do that with the backup of people who are neurotypical, and will get the processes all working so that we pay our taxes and we have money to build for the government to spend to be able to keep our roads running, because if it was left to us, we'd run out of gas and we wouldn't have any roads built, and so on. Okay, right, next time, women, I promise.